Welcome everybody to Relationship Fun and Games.
And Fights Clean Sex Dirty TV. And we are super excited that today is the final episode of the season of passion. And boy, are we gonna end it on an exclamation mark today.
We're broadcasting from Australia in a place called Mullumbimby on the East Coast.
We're in Bangalore.
We're in Bangalore now.
By Byron Bay.
And so it's early morning for us. And
so excuse our lighting this time,
yeah.
But we're happy to be here, and we're happy that you're here, whether you're watching live or whether you're watching on the replay. We know that life is full, and we appreciate your time and attention, and we promise that we're going to give you not just some valuable information today, but really create a fun experience as well, because as you know, we like to bring a proactive, playful approach so that relationship work isn't actually work at all.
We're joined by our two lovely guests here.
Yes, absolutely. All the way from La Jolla, California, which is just a wonderful area with some beautiful beaches in San Diego. We have Alain and Xochitl. And Raj, why don't you go ahead? Yes, we're going to give you the formal bios of Alain and Xochitl. But first of all, welcome, or I should say, Alain Torres and Dr. Xochitl Torres, although she has a long, beautiful name. I grew up, not sure what your background is, but I know in the Mexican tradition, you go through all of your, I believe it's matriarchal, and you go through your last 4 generations of names. Is that right? Such a beautiful tradition. I am my ancestry when you introduce yourself. It's such a wonderful, wonderful way. So welcome to the two of you. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you guys for having us.
Pleasure.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to give a little bit about your formal background and your bio, but we want also to give people a sense of who you are as a couple. So we'll plant the seed now that when we're done with those bios, you know, something about either how you met. We love stories of how couples met, or it might be a philosophy that's gotten you here to this point. And I know your work in the world is in relationship, and there's a lot to share. Tonight we have one topic, but something else, a nugget that you'd like to share. So planting that seed, we'll get to that in a moment.
Yeah. Okay, so we love this part of the show, getting to introduce our wonderful guests because they're all up to amazing things. So Alain is an international bestseller and featured author of the international best-selling book, Conscious Love, Enlightened Relationship, and Soulful Sex. I love this. Did you want to say something?
Well, I just wanted to say that one of the ways that we first met Alain was that he was doing a book launch in a very creative, generous, wonderful way, and an international reach of having lots of relationship experts interview relationship experts and promote this book. And I believe that for a period of time, you were even giving that book away for free. And then some of that money also went to charity. So we were interviewed by a relationship expert who was in Siberia at the time and has a Russian audience. And it was just so wonderful to see the ripple effect that project that you had happen. So it was an honor to meet you then and be a part of that. So here, you know, empowers world-renowned power couples and power players. We'd like to consider ourselves one of those as well. So thanks for the influence you've also had on us.
Absolutely. Glad you were part of it. That's a big, big part of it.
Yeah, it was amazing. And just a few more notes about Alain is that he reveals a signature 6-step process called the power formula.
Doesn't that make you want to just like do your superhero, you know, stance, like da-da-da-da, power couples, power formula.
And he's really focusing here on what's needed to show up in integrity and stay on purpose in the modern game. So one of the things that is super powerful about what you're doing is that often power couples have problems in their relationship because they're both so powerful. And the whole masculine, feminine, confusing for people. And love what you're doing here. Can't wait to hear more. I love this note about your communication and psychology training in neuro-linguistic programming and nonviolent communication, 2 of the most powerful tools out there in the realm of personal transformation and awareness.
Yeah, if you're picking 2 skills to learn, NLP and NVC, neuro-linguistic programming and nonviolent communication, 2 really great ones. Good choices there.
And his strength lies in building self-mastery skills and harnessing the full potential of your power. I can't wait to do something.
No pressure, I guess.
And you can find out more at the powerscoupleproject.com. But of course, there is even more because he has his beautiful, lovely wife, sitting right next to him. And I mentioned that gorgeous name, Dr. Xochitl Cortez Gonzalez and now Torres. And she's a holistic advocate, and I really love this combination here, empowering high-achieving entrepreneurs to actually take control of their health in a way that creates flow and brings masculine and feminine balance into the home, especially those power couples or those entrepreneurs where often, like Raj and I, we've had, you know, some of the masculine feminine dynamics where, you know, I get overly into my masculine or he may get overly into his feminine, which is a beautiful combination to have that fluidity. But sometimes when you're working together, and even if you're not working together, but just the entrepreneur's life can really pull you into those extremes, and it really takes some consciousness and a dance to bring that back in alignment. And I love that you're doing that around health. Thank you for that. Her background is in clinical pharmacy and worldwide publications on her research. You know, she has published in cancer, immunology, and she offers a unique perspective that really bridges this gap between the Western medicine and alternative medicine. Both is one of my favorite words, so why not bring them in together in harmony? And then training these power players, these power couples and entrepreneurs and their families, because no man is an island and we do live in a unit, right? And she does all of this in service of these entrepreneurs living optimally in a holistic, natural way, that then they're empowered to do what they want to do in the world. I love ripple effect work when you empower those that are empowering others, and that ripple effect tsunami can just keep going and going and going.
Ripple effect tsunami.
Yeah, I like that, the ripple effect tsunami. So welcome to the both of you. Thank you so much for being here today. Yeah, something you want to share either also about your background, if there's something that we missed there, and certainly about the two of you as a couple.
Yeah, there's a little bit of an echo. Can you guys hear that?
We can hear you.
Okay, cool. So this journey was a fascinating one for me. I mean, it started off with my dating career. You know, I didn't know how to date, and I didn't have the rapport building skills that I knew I needed in order to attract the love of my life. And so being a complete introvert, I started working on that area in my life, and lo and behold, I mastered it within a few months. I know that sounds like too good to be true, but when I immerse myself in something, I go deep, I go far and fast. I mean, that's part of being a type A. We get there very fast. And so once I got there, I had doctors and lawyers and dentists flying from out of state to come learn how to meet the one. But here's the caveat. Once I learned that, I was like, okay, well, I want to go meet my one now. And so I went to yoga class. And so this is something that when I'm working with my singles, for me, it's, you know, what do you like doing? What do you like spending your time? You know, what are you passionate about? What are you interested in? And so one of my things was yoga. It was spirituality. It was connecting with myself and my body, and getting, you know, healing through some aches and pains and injuries. And so I met her in Downward Dog. You know, I look up and there she is. And one of the most incredible things I have ever seen, I've ever laid eyes on. and for me, you know, like, I just couldn't say no. And so this is where it got really interesting, and immediately where I knew our dynamic was going to be a fun challenge. I walked up to her and let her know a little bit about myself. And when she realized that I was 8 years younger than her, she was basically like, "Get away from me, little boy. I don't want to, you know, no." And I'm like, "Man, you have no idea who you're messing with." And so it just created this really fascinating dynamic with this push and pull and this dichotomy and this just so much passion and energy. And you know, from there, like, I knew that she was my match, and I knew that she'd go toe to toe with me on everything. And so I guess the tidbit that I want to give with that story is, go to the places, and I already said it, but go to the places to really highlight it. Go to the places and do the things that you're already passionate, that you're already in love with. And if you're single, go meet your partner doing the things that you already love, because it's in alignment with who you are. Why are you going to go try to do something else that you don't like to go meet someone when they're not going to line up with you anyway? You're already going to create some kind of situation for yourself. So be smart about it. Be wise. You know, make it easy for yourself. And so go do that. Go to yoga. Go to green juice shops or vegan, wherever you go. Or maybe for you it's a bookstore, or I don't know, underwater basket weaving. I don't know. Whatever that is, like,
or
go find the
favorite sports team, or where,
yes,
you know, your favorite exactly. Go take a class on your favorite thing to study, or whatever it may be. Yeah.
Yeah. And Xochitl, how was it for you in that whole initial?
Well, the Downward Dog was not. I didn't really pay attention to that. I'm also extremely type A person. I My background is Mexican, so I grew up in Mexico all the way to undergraduate, or back home or back in Mexico is called university. So I graduated as a chemist, and I came here to actually UCSD around the block here in La Jolla to do my PhD in biomedical sciences. And when I came here to United States as the first generation in my cell family, my parents, my siblings, I was here by myself. So I really had to pull all the masculine type A personality that you can imagine for being a woman, young woman trying to break into a new culture, because I grew up speaking Spanish and thinking Spanish and singing the national anthem. And now here I am speaking English, and my English was horrible, and I had a lot of very good anecdotes about it, and calling out, and this is very cute. That's why I want to say it, because it relates to your topic of sex and all this. And I'm in this journal club, so I've been a type, what would you say, A+ student all my life. I love, as he would say, my IQ is to the roof and his EQ is to the roof. So we blend in a very good balance.
Nice.
So when I came to the States, I didn't know a lot of the slang and a lot of the words that is being used. I mean, I only read English. So when I'm in the genetics journal club and they're talking about testes, I do not know exactly what they were talking about. And so at the end, they say, anybody has questions? So then I raised my hand and I said, excuse me, I missed the part, where are testes? This one is not that you have a smartphone, because this is a few years back, and you don't have a smartphone that you can Google right there and then, oh, let me figure it out what testes is. And so my professor looks at me and says, oh, I think you would call it cojones. I just wanted to dwell inside like the corner. And anyway, that's one of my, anecdotes. But anyway, I've been evolving through all this, and I've been starting through my life from scratch many times, like many of us, probably in your audience as well. And so I met this boy that I used to call my boy, very sheltered and very loved by his parents, and grew up in the United States and doesn't know when they cut off the water, and there's no literally, you go and try to take a shower.
I remember.
There's no water coming out. I don't know.
No water, no electricity. It would get turned off all the time.
Yeah,
we lived in a big, beautiful house in Mexico, and the guy in the tin hut that was literally attached to our house, he would have electricity and we wouldn't. We were like, I don't understand. It happened all the time.
Right.
We're gonna have to hang out and you guys can share stories.
Right. So anyway, the Contras was very big. And that was another of the reasons that we, at the beginning, it was a real challenge to pursue and to become who we are. And just to give you a little bit about, how we came up into this very dynamic duo, if you will, is we both started into taking care of our health separately, but at the same time, like if we were vibrating at the same tone. And he was into chicken and I was already into veggies, a lot of veggies. But he was all a meat eater, we were on different levels, but we were vibrating into eating healthier and this and that. And when we started dating, besides the age difference and struggling with that for at least a good year and a half, and it was my mind not being okay with that 8-year difference and, no. And,
I got to throw a side story in too. So we're at a date in Balboa Park here in San Diego. And, it was a big topic that kept coming up. Oh, you're so much younger. Oh, we shouldn't be together, this and that. I'm just like, oh, come on, get over it. It's age. Like it's here. This is where it's all at. Whatever you give your energy and your focus to, that's real. But that's just it's an imaginary concept. It's a construct of mind. And so we're walking around and kind of like dueling literally on this topic. And right there on the wall, it says, age is an issue of mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter, by Mark Twain.
I
and I was like, here, honey, whenever this happens, like where you get in the spin, like take a look at this. And it's just an awesome perspective of, how we trap ourselves in our minds, and live out that and give our power away to everything. And so anyway,
about how things are or how things should be, right? We do the same in relationship. Like you end up the ball and chain, and once you get married, then the sex starts to not get as great. And in fact, the tip that we're going to be talking about tonight, you have 4 or 5 or 6 even for us. But the one tip that Raj and I are bringing forward tonight, pretty much if you do it, you're pretty much guaranteed your sex life is going to get better and better and better and better. In fact, we created it when we we were about to have our 7th wedding anniversary. And the cliche, right? We're talking about these inherited conversations. The cliche of the 7-year itch is that you start getting cranky or looking for someone else or something like that. And we said, we don't want the inherited itch, so what's our itch going to be? All right, let's have the itch to have the best sex we've ever had. And we made it our commitment to have every 90 days, not that we only have sex every 90 days, but every 90 days, one of those times has been the best it's ever been. And, you can't force that. You can only create the conditions for that, just like you can't force success. It's an emergent property. But you can learn what are the conditions for that. But just, kind of pinging away this cliche of it's just all downhill from here, folks, to no, it can just keep getting better and better and better. So well done on your choice of partners. And actually, Raj, would you put up the shared screen for a moment? Because I want to share this last slide here. This picture, go back one there, share the screen. With more on the Powers Couples Project here. Whether it's world-renowned power couples, and again, as their families, I love that you're bringing that in, creating this balance of the mental and the emotional. As we said, Xochitl, she's got the IQ, and Alain is holding the EQ, and I love that you guys are honoring the wonderful connection that you two can have together by holding those 2 different areas. And then not just the mental, emotional, but the physical, spiritual bodies, really bringing all of those integrated, which we are really excited about. Raj's 50th birthday party, that was pretty much the theme, was on how to ignite your self-expression by bringing all of those pieces together. So for those people that need to kind of constantly be on, whether it's with work and with families or on stage or off stage, whatever it may be, I know that I feel like I'm going a lot, right? Really helping those people to maintain that open mind so that they can really see all of the possibilities and to really pursue those all from this grounded place of solid health. And that's, of course, emotional, mental, physical, spiritual health. So they advocate mindful awareness, fully integrated into modern society. Sometimes those seems like, paradoxical or almost oxymorons there, right? So mindful awareness and in modern society, and how we can truly be capable of easily leveraging those obstacles and opportunities and operating as an ultimate team. In fact, Raj and I arrived here at my sister's house in Australia, and her husband had put a sign up on the wall that said Team Sundra. It's a little marquee for welcoming Team Sundra, because we do that all the time. We'll say, when we're doing each doing a different role and it's helping each other, we'll say, go, Team Sundra. Go, Team Sundra. And then the last piece that I just really want to comment on here before we dive into all of our great topics for tonight is this part about leveraging the obstacles into opportunities. Anybody who ever watches our show knows that we love alliterations. We love alliterations. But also we love taking the problem and turning that into the path. We have a saying that the problem isn't the problem. The problem is you think the problem's the problem. The problem is actually the path. Yeah. So as my girlfriend Sasha Lala likes to say, let your mess be your message.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, so let's go ahead and dive on in. Thank you again so much for being here. We want to get to your tips and ideas. But those that, if you are new to the show, just a reminder for others, this is how we structure each of our 8 episodes.
So when Gabby and I got married, someone said to us, we're looking for what is that advice to help us make sure that we have a long-lasting marriage and one that we actually love being in. And they said, just keep the fights clean and the sex dirty.
I wish we could remember who told us that.
Someone's going to watch the show someday.
Eventually. I was the one at the wedding who said that.
And then, we researched it a bit, and we found out that those are actually the 2 main things that couples want to know about, right? How do you actually engage? And, some people call it clean fighting or like how do you actually communicate and work through issues that lead to up-leveling the relationship instead of disintegrating your relationship?
Yeah, we like to say save being nasty for your sex life, because so many people are nasty over who didn't take the trash out, and then they like get into bed and they start looking at the news or Facebook or whatever it is, and we want to know where to wear the halos and where to wear the devil horns, and you do not want to wear the devil horns when it comes to fighting. You can still be a bit of an angel in the bedroom too, but so for tonight, we're looking at, so for, sorry, I thought you had covered that already. So for Fights Clean, Sex Dirty, not just those two topics that we alternate between each week, and tonight is the final episode of the season. So we also go through before, as it starts, during, and after, because especially, you know, timing is everything, right? You've heard that, and especially after an argument, you don't want to use the after an argument tool in the middle of an argument. When somebody's still all pissed off, that's not the time to be trying to bring in the reconnection. You want to make sure to calm and diffuse the argument first, or things can explode. So it's, you know, it's the same thing if it's, you know, in the middle of if it's well before sex, you don't want to do something that you'd be doing right in the heat of sex. That might kind of be weird or absurd or kind of catch someone off guard, you know? So the timing is everything. But tonight's tip is for keeping the sex dirty after. So some think when the deed is done, it is done. But this is a really, really precious time, these hours just after getting it on with your beloved. So you want to keep that groove going and see what can you do in that last hour or hours that will actually have your sex life just keep getting better and better and better.
So you're going to be able to join us in this live hangout in just a few minutes. We're going to make this hangout link that's under the video browser live, that join the hangout button. When that happens, you may need to refresh your browser. You can click on that and jump into the hangout with us. And for those who do jump in with us, you can either, we'll send you this cheat sheet that we have here, one on Fights Clean, the other on Sex Dirty, with our top tips from each of those 4 categories. And we'll either request that you give us your email address or just say, hey, we'll give you Gabby's email address so that you can email her directly. Okay.
Okay, so for keeping the sex dirty after. Now, if you are watching this replay or you're here live because you're specifically concerned about this topic, then we just want to point out that if you go to the relationshipfunandgames.com website, you can go ahead and search for the sex dirty after, or you can look for this logo, again, the heart with the devil horns with the after part shaded in. One of these different topics here. These are all different topics that we've covered in the past. And today we're going to be talking about the romp recap, which is one of our favorite tools and the one that we came up with, as we said, after our 7-year itch conversation and our commitment.
Mm-hmm. So you might want to check out this YouTube video. It's a 3 to 5 minute video that talks about this topic. And one of the things we really pride ourselves in with our tools is having them be super applicable when you need them the most. And so this tool, you could just bookmark it on your phone and watch it in the moment. You could be like, hey, honey, I'm going to go to the bathroom for a minute.
Hold that thought.
On your phone and watch these quick video tips.
So we're going to go through this tip just for a few minutes here, and we'll give you an action option on how you can put this into play right away. But we do encourage you, hold on to this link so that when you need it the most, you'll have it accessible. And
that should appear down in the comments window, so you don't have to scramble to copy it. And sometimes you need to refresh the browser just to update the comment.
So today's tip on how to keep the sex dirty after the romp recap. So we first will tell you what these 3 different areas are, how to do the romp recap in just a moment. But we want to start with the top level of why this is important to do. You know, Raj and I, we really work on the culture of our relationship. It's not the individual things that happen moment by moment, but it's really just like in a company, it's really what is the culture of how you treat each other, so that when something isn't happening right, it really is kind of glaring and it shows up. And one of the ways that we work on our culture is by living into this formula here, right? All is well. Our relationship is awesome. We're great. We're grateful. Every time we start focusing on problems, we're like, let's remember our relationship is really actually pretty awesome. All is well. However, some things could be better, right? We like to apply business practices to relationship and relationship to businesses. And one of these business practices we learned was how to ask even better if. In fact, this whole tool came up because one day Raj was talking about how at the end of each of his coaching clients, he runs a business consulting firm as well, he'd say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how was the call? And if it wasn't a 10, how could it be even better? And then one day he said to me, hey, honey, why don't we do that for our sex life? It's like, oh my gosh, that's a great idea. Let's even better if our sex life. So then you bring in this tool we're about to teach you, the romp recap. So if you can hold with your beloved all is well, even better if, and the romp recap, then that is pretty much going to guarantee that you have what we call BEST, best ever sexy time.
Awesome. Hold on one second because we flip pages there. I just wanted to say a little bit more about this all is well and even better if framing of your life and your relationship. So often in our lives, when things aren't working the way that we want them to, we get frustrated by that and we focus on what's not working instead of the overall frame of like, hey, this is pretty awesome actually, and there's some things that aren't the way I want them to be. If you hold that frame for your relationship and the rest of your life, you feel empowered and you feel like you get present to what is working, and you're always looking at, hey, how could this be even better? And that's a super empowered place to come from because it leaves you not in the frustration place, but present to what's awesome and always up leveling.
It's like Alain said, with the
Yes,
obstacles
totally.
into the opportunities,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Super helpful foundation, whether you apply that to the fights or to the sex. Okay, can I go to the next slide now? Awesome. Okay, so what is this romp recap that we're talking about? Well, as Raj said, you know, how could it even be better? And we thought, well, let's look at how could we have this be better? What areas do we want to talk about? The overall goal is just to make talking about your sex life as comfortable and common as, like, you know, when you saw that movie or you went to a restaurant, what'd you think? Well, I really loved the Kung Pao chicken, but, you know, the vegetables were kind of a little overcooked. They were I would have liked them a little bit more al dente. You know, we don't go, oh my God, you thought the date was horrible. You didn't like the restaurant. Oh, you know, which is kind of how we are about sex. Someone gives any feedback, even afterwards, and we tend to go into stories or retreat or have all sorts of things happen. So you really want to, again, create a culture we're talking about of, you know, hey, how was sex last night? You know, I really loved this, but I think this could have been, I would have liked it. Oh, I would have loved it. Can we do this next time? And you really take the drama or the sensitivity or the walking on eggshells out of it because you're just normalizing it.
I just, you know, you can't always see the guests on screen when we're showing our slides, so I'm curious what the little look that you guys gave each other was then, if it was pertinent to what we were just talking about. But anyway,
we'll come back to that.
We'll come back to that. So, yeah, so if you're not able to talk about your sex life, it totally shuts down any possibility for growth because then you're just in your head making up stuff. And that's what normally happens because we don't have the tools to communicate in a way that. So this is an awesome tool that, like Gabby said, it just continues allowing you to up-level your sex life because you actually know how to talk about it.
And again, bringing some play to this. In fact, once I was in the shower on a Sunday morning and I came back into the bedroom and Raj had put a big whiteboard. We should put a picture of that up here because I know you have a picture. Raj put a big whiteboard up that was a big heart, and inside the heart it said intimacy, sexiness, and technique, and a little blank line. Like he was like, bring it, I'm going for the 10s. He's like, you know, I'm looking for those judges right off the bat here. So but let's look at what are these 3 areas that we score. Now I want to be clear, we are not scoring each other. This is together us scoring the experience. And so we might have different numbers and we kind of talk about that as well. But and often you don't want to do this, by the way, in the first hour after sex. That's the post-orgasmic chill. Just soak it all in, eye contact. But this isn't when to be critiquing, so to speak, your experience. But within an hour to 24 hours afterwards, Raj and I would often like to go for a short walk. We'd say, hey, you want to do a romp recap? Yeah, that sounds great. Let's do that. And so I might say, okay, on intimacy, that was how connected did I feel? I felt pretty connected to you, actually. I'd give us an 8. I felt really connected. But you know how I love eye contact, especially at the point of penetration. It would be even better if, and you don't have to do this, it's not a rule, but I love it so much, it would be even better if we make eye contact at that moment.
Yeah, on the sexiness front, it might be like, wow, what you were wearing was totally blowing my mind.
Raj likes outfit changes.
And what made it even a little better is if you wore that sexy long necklace that kind of goes down into your lovely chest area.
I have to say, these shows are always really great for our sex life personally. Every night we film one, and when we learn from other people, I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna try that one.
Yeah.
All right, and then finally, you might say technique. You know, what are those actual skills like? And this is where you can give some of that specific feedback. You know, you might say something like, oh, you know, I did like that, you know, I give it, you know, kind of a 7. I really liked that we were changing it up into different positions, but it felt like those positions might have been a little fast of changing for me. And I think it would be even better if we spent at least, at least 3 to 5 minutes in each one before we made a change. You know, sometimes it changes over a little too quickly for me. And, you know, whatever it may be, but you're just giving that feedback and making, again, the culture a very comfortable piece of how can we talk about our sex life. And I'll say, so this was after we created this after 7 years of marriage, so 9 years of being together. We're now 2 years into using this tool. And truly, our sex life has just taken on a whole new level, a whole new stratosphere. We once had interviewed a woman named Sephora Kingsbury. You guys might know her because she's living down in your area. And she said to us, no matter where you are in your sex life, I promise you, you are just scratching the surface, which became so exciting for me. It's like, really, just scratching the surface? That's fantastic. Look at all this room of where.
So one of the things that we do is we scale each of these things on a score of 1 to 10. And it's just kind of fun because, you know, when Gabby said, did you mention the triple double?
No, I did not mention the triple double. Well, this is really kind of funny. Okay, we'll do this and then wrap it up so we can get to their tips here. Yes. So the triple double, if anybody is a basketball fan, you'll instantly know what a triple double is, where, you know, when a player scores double digits in how many rebounds, how many points, and how many assists. So it's like a really good game. So when we get a 10 across the boards in here, I call it a triple double. But the funniest thing is we were about a year into playing this game and Raj says to me, what's a triple double?
I wasn't a basketball.
He's a soccer player, you know, and a cross-country skier. He didn't know what a triple double was. So we had a good laugh about that.
Yes, yeah.
And there is no pressure for this triple double, but it is a lot of fun to play this game. We've discovered that a triple double doesn't necessarily mean it's a best ever.
Sure.
But a best ever is always a triple double.
Yeah, and so you'll take turns. You know, Gabby would share with me on these 3 things, say let's go 1 to 10, how it was, etc. I would say, yeah, I agree with that. I think this. So you're getting each other's perspective on the experience, and then you can come up with specific things that might bring it up a level to the next time that you have sex. So you can see how this would always lead to you having even better sex.
Yeah, if you measure what matters, it says here at the top, make feedback really fun, so it's not intimidating or you're walking on eggshells or you're like, oh, if I say that, then I want that, they're gonna think I'm really weird. You know, you can make this really fun using a romp recap. And I will drop one other nugget. If for some reason there's things you want to talk about that might be a little bit uncomfortable, edgy, you can consider checking out the website Mojo Upgrade, MOJO upgrade.com. And it's a survey that you fill out saying what all of it lists, all these different sexual fantasies, and you say whether you're interested in that fantasy or not. And then it emails you and your beloved only the things that you both said. So that really wild, crazy thing, if you didn't both say it, it's not going to show up. And if it's not on the list, well, hey, you can think of a new one that they've got on the list. And even if you are comfortable about talking about it, I found it really fun to print out their list, their survey, and you can even present it as a menu and say, "My sir, what would you like this evening off of the menu?" So we do like to end every skill here with the action option. Your mission, should you choose to accept it. Ready, Raj? Dun, 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 dun. Da-na-na, da-na-na. It's not impossible, but it is a mission, and it is an option, but we do like to encourage action. So within 24 hours after the next time you and your beloved have some sexy time, not in that first hour though, go ahead and review what are the highlights that from your experience, and remember to bring some play and some fun to it. You can just discuss it, but it's always better if you do write something down, even if you end up throwing it away. But it just, when you see yourself writing it down and you imprint it, it just adds another layer. So that's a little bonus round there for you. But what would it, you want to talk to your beloved about what would make it even better. You might even jokingly bring to it, like, was there MVP? You're like, oh, wow, you know, the fact that you initiated and that you had all the candles, the music set up, there's major MVP player there.
And MVP is most valuable.
Most valuable player. You didn't need to be told that one, though, but you're just checking for someone else. Okay, it's not a triple double. And then what was the move that made it so awesome, or would you like to see? And then start to set your sights on that even better if ideas and declare what you're going to do differently next time. Raj and I actually sat down and made a list of our top 25 turn-ons and turn-offs, which was really helpful, especially to discover things that were on his turn-on list that were on my turn-off list. So how do you manage that? Like when one person is turned on by the very same thing that someone's turned off. And there's a lot of creativity that can come together there. I mentioned the outfit changes. Raj loves outfit changes, but we'd be in the middle of getting it on and he'd like jump out of the bed and go get a blue button-down shirt and say, I'll put this on. I'm like, but where'd you go? So now we have a big basket of hats and jewelry and sweaters and shirts. So he doesn't have to go anywhere and I can just change every 10 minutes and be a whole new person. A whole other way of variety here. So we're about to get to these wonderful tips from Xochitl and Alain, but is there anything that you guys have noticed or seen how that shows up for you in your relationship or with other couples that you've been working with about being able to talk about how sex was for the aim of blowing wind in the sails of it being even better in the future?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the biggest thing is around having these conversations that a lot of us don't want to have. I mean, and this is not strictly for sex. This is about topics that are even, we don't want to talk about, like money or, taxes or anything like that. Like, God forbid somebody presses one of those buttons that's, on top of a lot of shells. So, it's, for me, it's all mindset. One of my clients called me, and I can never keep track of this guy, frankly. He's always on his jet going someplace. And he called me from India, and he said, he goes, hey, Alain, how's it going? I said, great, man. How you doing? He's like, I'm hanging out with the monk right now. I'm like, okay. Like, well, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm meditating. And I'm like, okay, cool. What did you learn today? And he says, well, the monk told me the biggest difference between him and I is this. The monk says the biggest difference between him and I is that he uses his mind. And the biggest difference with me is that my mind uses me. And so going into like having these kinds of conversations where we go into them like half-heartedly or we're half holding back. Like our partner will unconsciously pick up on that. And that's where the eggshells are actually created rather than the actual conversation when both people are just coming fully from presence and fully from the heart and fully just letting the other person know what's going on. And so, does my mind me or do I use it? That's the biggest thing. And so, again, are you staying in the stories that your mind is giving you, or are you actually having those conversations, those gentle, intimate conversations that you can be having with your partner in the moments after, during, and everything in between? But, specifically after, once things are really tender, and things are really, both of you are very connected with yourselves, with each other, and the entire dynamic. I mean, it feels at that point, I speak for myself, but it feels like the walls are breathing, after something like that. So, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's one of the things I would say for sure.
Awesome. Ms. Xochitl, anything for you to add before we dive into your awesome tips as well?
Well, I would say that once you use sex or making love as a tool to really go deep into each other's hearts and become that one that you, in theory, want to become. And sometimes it's so hard with everything going on in this world and your routine in the world, excuse my voice, that it's hard to really feel that oneness more as a couple. I mean, I'm not even talking about the oneness in the world and oneness with everybody that exists, but just practicing that oneness in your bedroom or wherever you are at, you're doing this act, and not during the act, because it's easy to feel as one when us we're into each other. But once you disconnect that body or physical body, keeping that connection and staying up in your own physical body, but feeling that tenderness and that vibration, and without just thinking in your mind, but from your heart, even that very delicate topic. And I'm going to go into the same point, like, let's say I'm always demanding, or I feel like I demand too much because sometimes I get in my masculines and we need to have this done in the house or whatever needs to be done. And at that point of oneness or that connection, when you're still vibrating, you actually feel that appreciation that many gurus tell you to go deep in and find that source of love and connection. That we have some meditation that we will share with you probably towards the end.
Thank you.
That we do while we have this climax together. That connection makes us so humble and appreciative of all the little things that most of the time we oversee because you're too busy, because your ego is too big, because you have accomplished so much, and what the other person has done, well, he has done some, but you've done a little more and more. So anyway, at a certain point, I feel that connection allows you to appreciate all the little things that are not normally appreciated. So,
and I have our friends Amber and Nathan had spoken about how easy it is to get into what they called the secular versus the sacred, where you might see it as the practical rather than the passionate. And so whether you're just, living lives and taking care of the kids, or whether you're working together, it's so easy to kind of fall into that practical and out of the passionate. And in fact, in the Sex Dirty Before, we talk about mastering mini seduction so that you can be nurturing that dynamic so it's not so difficult to find that on-ramp. But you really have to pay attention. It's great to be practical and be partners and get things done together. But you don't want to just see, often, especially people with kids, those first 5 years, it's like they stop becoming your lover and they start becoming, who's going to take the kids so that I can take a shower?
Right.
They become chore-doing people instead of your actual beloved. Well, thanks so much for that feedback. And Raj, would you slide share the screen so we can see not just these awesome tips here, but this gorgeous picture. I love this picture. Go ahead and hit share, Raj.
Yeah, I just want to let the audience know that the Google Hangout link is live now. So if you want to join the Google Hangout, you can refresh your browser and click that join Hangout button.
So I love this picture here. One, Alain, just the stance that you're holding. You're holding this like super grounded, like I've got you. Your hands are on her belly, just fully loving her. And the way she's looking back to you and up at you and leaning back into you, it's really a lovely photo. I mean, there's gorgeous background and all of that and the lighting, but I was really noticing the body language that the two of you are modeling for a truly, obviously, Xochitl, you're obviously a smart, powerful, strong woman, but myself being a smart, powerful, strong woman, I like being strong. I don't want to have to be strong. I love it when I can let go of my guard. And research has shown that women actually more so want to hear, I've got you, than I love you. Those are the three most powerful words. And that's what I see in this photo. So love this. Looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say as well on these awesome tips. So thanks so much for sharing your wisdom with us.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, well, she's my Kung Pao chicken. We got the egg foo young going on over here and all that good stuff. So, she's my chocolate ice cream. I love my chocolate ice cream. But anyway, presents. I want to start.
I understand. I actually just kicked a chocolate ice cream every single night habit myself. We did a
tough one to shake, man. I don't know.
It was very tough. So I understand.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So my number one, or our number one tip is presence, and they're in no particular order as far as weight, but this is just the order they happen to pop up and out. And so presence for me, for us, like right after we have that very intimate moment, it's not jumping up to go do something else. It's staying with each other in each other's process of, this incredible climax, this incredible energy that you're both experiencing that is, I mean, I'm sure I could share it with your audience, but this energy is vibrating through your field, your aura, do these different channels of our meridians. And so for me personally, I know that I really want to allow that energy to go wherever it needs to, because for me, we are energy. And so for knowing that, if there's any kind of blockages or any kind of thing that in my body where there's some stagnant energy, the way I look at it, this big climax, this big O is like, bam. And so it'll just blow through whatever you got blocked up in there. And so for me, and I'll go into it in the last one with the maintaining sexy states on how to do that. But the biggest thing is allowing this energy to flow and to be present with that energy, you know, for however long up until you feel it. And I sometimes we'll do like a very kind of, I won't call it a game, but we're just present to the feeling in our bodies to the point where we no longer feel it anymore, you know, obviously until the next time. But it's almost like if you've ever heard a singing bowl, when someone hits a singing bowl and the reverberation of the wavelength, and listen to it as long as you can hear it till the very last part that you can actually hear. And so rather than hearing it, we're feeling it kinesthetically in our bodies. And that to me does something different for me, and I know for both of us. And so with that, you know, we're more slow to do things right after. We're not as quick to jump out of the bed and go, oh, well, I got to go wash the dishes, or I got to go take care of the dog, or I got to go do all the, you know, I got to go take out the trash, honey, or all the little things. And so it just really keeps present in the moment. So when I'm saying what I'm offering, it's a mindset shift. It's really slowing down, being present to that energy, to that feeling that emanates from right here. I mean, all the research is coming out and shows that there's this big burst of energy that comes obviously from the root chakra, from the root, and then comes up. But if you actually connect it with the heart in a very specific way, you can actually have like 10-minute long orgasms, if you guys knew about that. So I can talk about that in the end, but it's pretty magical when you stay present, and it's so simple. And I know we've all heard it before, but are we actually practicing it? And another one of my clients was kind of busting my balls about this, and he says, he comes to me and he's, you know, he got 5 coaches, and 3 of them were Tony Robbins coaches, and within a week he wanted to fire them all. And his biggest thing was he gets how he should be unconditional, present, patient, understanding, you know, all these different things that we know we should be, but the disconnect where the bridge was not meeting was, had he actually become those things? And so that was the work, the full integration, the embodiment that we embarked on together. And part of it is presence. And yeah, I get it. It's simple, but it's not. And so once you become that thing, you don't actually have to think about it and go, oh, let me be present right now as I sit and feel this energy in my body. Like, no, you're just present because you are. That's who you are. So anyway, that's tip number 1 is presence.
I love that. And you know, we call that the post-sex pause, or the post-orgasmic chill, when you say, like, don't like just jump up and go on, but really like soak in all that goodwill, or you're, you know, taking that energy, like that warmth that you can not only feel, but you can actually see. You know, I love that they're doing research on these things now, and amen for the trailblazers of the Kinsey studies and all of that research that we now have that is bringing some science to this magical, mystical experience between people.
Right.
It really is magic.
Presence is just sexy.
Presence is sexy. Presence is sexy. And one of the hottest nights we ever had after an interview, if you know Alex Allman and his work, he was talking to Raj about energy. It was the only interview I wasn't on, and just matching. If a woman is directive at all, like trying to move her body in a different position, instantly listen. If the woman then relaxes and is not being directive, instantly become directive. And just that presence you're talking about, this is a little bit more during, not after, but always matching that. You're staying present to match their energy, so that, because if 2 people are inserting energy at the same time, that butt heads. If neither person's inserting energy, it's like a wet noodle, right? So you want to have it going back and forth. Exactly. Awesome. So what about this playfulness here? Connection, vulnerable shares. I love play too.
Okay, so I will talk about it, just because I will start with, I'm sure that in your show, or you being in, I'm sure, come up with the topic of oxytocin, and how there's a burst of oxytocin, which is a hormone. It's a very primitive hormone that humans still produce. We haven't evolved that part, thank God. And that's what makes us close together and feel that bonding need. And right after or during sex, we build up this oxytocin in both of us, moreover in a woman, and we just want to be nurtured and want to be in our maximum feminine way in which we want to be protected and cared for. And it's similar to that bond that of course a mother to a child feels. But that oxytocin can be maintained through the day and through hours if you just keep that, not just that touch, but even, and I'm just saying just with your couple, and you can actually, when you go out and meet friends, just the hug. Every time you hug someone, you actually spiking or increasing your oxytocin. So you can continue having this without having that sexual, energy all the time, or having intercourse every 3 hours. And besides the connectivity that will produce, which I spoke about it before, and Alain has touched on that, that connection that now exists after that intercourse and the climax and being in that momentum, that Alain will talk more about what happens afterwards, as you feel that vulnerable in a point in which it doesn't matter, there's no ego, or at least how we worked it out, to say what you truly think about something. And I'm not saying I'm something completely extreme, but maybe something that has been bothering you, or that you had in the back of your head that maybe your partner has been doing for a while, and without any intention of disturbing you or making you uncomfortable, but you have felt that is not the best thing to do what you're around, or whatever it is. And we come up with stuff, these conversations that are very, we connect in our eyes, we talk about, what, there's something has been bothering me. I know that for you it's easy to, I feel like it's easy for you to, I don't know, put your dirty clothes right there and leave it in the shower. And, it just, disturbs me every time I go to the shower. I mean, the shower is tied up and your clothing is all over the place. I mean, literally the basket is next to it. I mean, it's literally 1 millimeter, 2 millimeters away. What's the difference in putting, things like that, but not really like making it in a negative way, but saying, honey, I know that it may be a big effort, but I would just wonder if once in a while you remember that. Because, sometimes I don't feel like, I lose my momentum when I get to the bathroom and it's not as tight as I wanted to, or I thought it will be, because I left it that way. And of course, he may come out instead of in a place, because we're both in that climax of love and oneness. He's not going to take it in a bad way. And he's not going to react and say, well, you leave your dishes dirty all the time, and I always pick it up after you, Instead, he would just be playful and say, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to leave my underwear there to see if that's hint, or whatever, whatever joke that we have playing. And moreover, afterwards, when you keep that playfulness after the bedroom, not in the bedroom, I mean, needless to say, our dog loves to be with us at all times.
Literally at all times. And
yes, I mean, at all times. And so sometimes it gets very rocky and stuff, and she decides to leave us because it just gets too much going on. But even that bonding time and playfulness becomes like a three-way, our dog and us, and we're playing with each other, and just the caressing, and just starting, like, even if we may want to do something else as a chore, but it's just so playful. It's like we're laughing, we're trying to make a joke of each other. And so we just try to keep that playfulness that we started with passion in the bedroom, but into whatever else that we need to do together. So yeah.
Bring the play to the passion, and then bring that out into the world, into your daily lives. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's so critical, because in the absence of that, you build up this sort of friction or this trap between you and your partner, and then you're not drawn into having sex. You actually have to force it, and really keeping that playfulness alive, both, like you said, in and out of the bedroom. In fact, sometimes when Gabby and I haven't had sex for a while, we'll use play as the vehicle to actually
initiate. Yeah, we had what were we calling it? We had a sex slump. And it was like we had a lot of house guests, and we were really busy, and all this stuff was going on, and all of a sudden we're like, wait a second, we're in a sex club. We didn't even realize it at first. And so again, one of these stories where I was in the bathroom, and I came back out, and Raj had devil horns on. He was sitting in bed with devil horns, and he had a headband with a halo extended to me. Like, here, take this halo. It was really funny, and I laughed, and we jumped into bed, and we had a great time. Yeah, bring in the play, everyone. We also have a wonderful tool, and I love this, the appreciation and the empowerment. You know, I want to say some more about those two.
Yeah, so appreciation and like, I want to highlight, you know, these really are simple, but again, it's about actually doing them, being them, living them, embodying them. And so
simple isn't always easy, right?
No,
but it gets easier if you practice it.
To me, the simplest things in life are usually the most difficult, and especially when we make it something bigger than it is in our minds. And so appreciation is one of those things where, you know, after we just experience this incredible high and this ecstasy, you know, I want to appreciate her for genuinely for every single thing that comes to mind to heart. You know, honey, I just want to thank you so much for, you know, for something you did today, for doing this in the kitchen, for even the little small things. Now, I mean, this goes into like love languages and different things like that. And it's hard to always be perfect on that, in my opinion. And so I do believe that there's some, you know, leeway as far as like, okay,
it's kind of hard to be perfect,
you know what I mean? Like,
anything, though, isn't it, Alain? Let's not have everyone. I was like, we don't need to be perfect. Progress, right?
Yeah,
no.
And that's, again, this like this playful energy. You know, one of the most incredible states, and I'll go into more on this in a bit, but it's about wonder and like this idea of magic. Because when we put ourselves into that state, everything is like, wow, this is a whole new world. Like, this is something that's so magical, and you're so open-minded rather than closing off and needing everything to be perfect, X, Y, Z, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, whatever. You know, so the biggest thing is just these little moments of appreciation, and just, you know, putting my hand over her heart and staring into her eyes and just saying, honey, I really appreciate you for taking care of this earlier. I appreciate this. I saw you. I noticed that you did this. And for a man to say that to a woman, guys, dudes, if you're listening to this, massive brownie points. Okay.
Yeah.
You know,
especially as you mentioned love languages, especially if their love language is words of praise. So it's really important to find that out. And we'll go ahead and put a link into when we send out the notes on this to the Love Languages book. So those of you that are watching this, look in the comments. May, if you would, you can put a link later on to the Love Languages in the comments of this.
Appreciation.
It's a fantastic tool to really understand and feel love. Yeah.
It's really, really important. It's simple, but it's the profound things that we have to do a little extra work and effort on. And to me, so what this kind of creates is it's like a cyclical, it creates a pattern. And so we're really good at focusing usually, and I'm not saying us, but I'm saying society in general, as on the negative. We stay in our mind rather than, you know, actually realizing that we are the voice. And so focusing on the positive. And so this starts to create these positive, reaffirming, these positive patterns that build on themselves. And so when you keep doing it, all things build. And you can keep building into it, and you keep feeling that fire, that energy, and it keeps building and building and building. And the momentum, which Xochitl will talk about in a little bit too, but that as well builds into that. So it's a fascinating thing. It's so simple, but it's profound.
And that's why when I asked you about these two tips, I said them together, appreciation and empowerment, because when you're making those appreciations, it is empowering. And if you are acknowledging your beloved, you know, for that sexual experience or even something else, you know, as one of the, you know, small details of what happens in the day, a person does feel empowered. They feel loved, they feel seen, and they appreciate it, and the ability to then express and surrender and be more available. And then that connects to, it segues for you, Xochitl, into the momentum, because if you're feeling appreciation and then you're feeling empowered, you can build on that and create some momentum.
Absolutely. I mean, just continuing to building that with the hugs, with
little spank on the ass.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like little
we
things.
do it all the time.
And now it sounds like you're getting into maintaining sexy states too.
Right.
All right. Or simply, I mean, walking around, like I do that sometimes or many times, walking around naked, you know, cooking naked, and, you know, playing with each other without getting all the way, you know, but, you know, just, you know, playing in random places and touching in random places without notice, which sometimes is kind of off guard, but it may be fun, you know, depending. I feel like the momentum that you built or that continues from the bedroom or from the climax on, it's so important. And once that's going down, and we used to have that when we started in our relationship, it was the other way around. We will go into this very high peaks of climax, and then we'll crash down because we will come into point out the negative things, like, as you mentioned. I mean, is the point of creating the momentum of appreciating. Yeah, you can be vulnerable, but from a consciousness place of love, and more like, this makes me feel this way, versus saying, you did that, you blah blah, your fault, or whatever it is that makes us go on guard and go like, well, where are you trying to battle with me? And I feel when that happened to us at the beginning of our relationship, we will sink into this bottom of this dark phase in which we were like argue endless, and then we'll break into another sex makeup and feel great again for a little bit and then go down again. And I feel that the momentum that you build from that love and connection that you make, but build in that consciousness of continuing and honoring each other's presence and choice to be with you every single second and minute and day of your lives together. I think that's one of the best practices that you can do, and that goes in alignment with what you two were saying as their action plan for your audience. And you want to say the maintaining sexy state, since it's the same as momentum?
I have a side comment on the momentum. I mean, this all creates into itself. And so like when like as she was saying, you know, we'd have these crazy arguments and we'd have the most incredible makeup sex, like throwing her into a wall. And I mean, it was great. I mean, we're both Aries. Okay. So we are Rams. We will fight to the death, even though Rams don't fight to the death, literally, but we did. And so, you know, things come up. And so that was one of our ways that we realized that we were almost addicted to that drama. And so it was part of acknowledging, hey, you know what, this is not how I choose us to be anymore. It's not how I choose our relationship dynamic or our sex life to be, using it as a way to bounce back and to, in a way, create a momentary moment of saneness and attraction and love and actually on the same page. So, you know, it was something that we knew, okay, you know what, this is not how I want to be. Let's actually get to where this becomes part of the growth and the nurturing, rather than this being the bubble gum in the boat, you know, the hole of the boat, so to speak. And so, you know, that took these other things on the list, you know, the presence, the vulnerability, the playfulness. I mean, being able to have these kinds of conversations. And, you know, you think about it, you know, our puppy's right below our feet right now. And so I've noticed in our relationship with her, as she trusts us more, you know, as we trust her more, she trusts us more. And so you go deeper and deeper. And as you were alluding to, there's no limit or end to going deeper into sex or really any area of life. And so for me, it's like you can spend a lifetime going down any one path, because you will find and put meaning to, we all will, to anything we search for and look for answers on, and discover and healing and all that stuff. So for me, it's like, okay, let's just keep it simple. I don't want to get too in my head. Let's just do the positive things that are going to create this momentum that build into everything in itself. And so this last piece, the maintaining sexy states. So I actually learned this from one of my first spiritual teachers. And so this was probably about six-ish years ago. Xochitl and I had been together, I think, about a year and a half. And so we went to Sedona, and we went to one of these meditation, you know, workshops or whatever. And I read a bunch of the books, and you know, at first I thought it was total BS, but I started trying this stuff, and I was just like, oh, like, this stuff's real.
You're onto something here.
Yeah, I'm like, man, this is good. This is really good. And so this is the tool. And so in ancient Egypt, in the mystery schools, the Egyptians, they have, it looks like a cross, but it's actually called an ankh. And so it's basically like that cross-looking thing that has a little loop on the top. And so the way our energetic meridians and our systems are, this actually, there's energy that flows through our body, but it goes through our chakra systems. And yeah, there's 7, arguably 13, depending on which system you're looking at, but let's just keep it simple and say the 7. So you'll want to take notes on this. It's pretty simple, but right as you're about to climax, right as you feel that energy building up in your root chakra, you're going to, with intent, send it up through your chakras and all the way up into your heart. And as soon as it hits your heart, with intent, you're going to shoot it straight back over your head and loop it back around to your heart. So again, it's going to shoot up your root.
Like if you go like this.
Mm-hmm. It shoots up from her root and goes to her heart, and then comes straight out of her back, and then goes over her head and goes right back into her heart. So what that does is, and even the Hindus and a lot of the practitioners over there, they don't like to orgasm. They don't like to come because they lose that life force energy, which they believe is so important, which it is. But with this concept and this idea, which you can actually use, even if you men pop, you can actually send this energy back into your field. And what it does, it actually strengthens your field rather than brings it down. And so the first time I ever did this, I think I just about went blind. And it was about a 10-minute long orgasm. And for a man, if you don't have any idea, I mean, it was like, holy shit, like I think I'm about to die right now. This is insane. And so, I mean, we can share a story, but it's when you start to do this first with yourself as a practice, and then start to do it with your partner, you guys actually merge your fields. And so some of the deeper stuff, and I know that this is more on the tantric side, but this is actually where you can start to manifest and create by using the energy from the climax, which they say is the same energy of a universe being born, literally. It's within us.
The Big Bang.
The Big Bang, or the
Big Bang. The true Big Bang. Oh, I just got chills when you said that. Oh, that's awesome. Well, I really appreciate all of these tips, and I know we want to give people some information on how to find out more about you. But anything else that you want to say on any of these tips before we wrap up for tonight?
Yeah, so they all connect to themselves. I mean, so if you look at the list, like start with that energy. Everything's energy. Everything is energy within the body. And everything helps to maintain that, especially after the sexy moments. And so for me, life is a sexy moment. Like I try to make everything sexy and playful and fun, and I'm not perfect at it, but that's part of the practice of life. And so, I know for us, like we're constantly bringing playfulness. If we get down, it's, how do we build into that sexy state, the momentum, the empowerment, the appreciation, the playfulness, the connection, the presence. And each one of those builds into of itself. And again, they're not in any particular order, but just do them and they build this energy. And it creates nurturing and growth in the relationship. And then from there, there's not this like, well, pointing fingers. It's more like, okay, we're good. So now what do we get to create as a couple, as a power couple? We get to create whatever we want and take on the world in a beautiful way and help change the planet. And that's the entire point. And this is what I believe all entrepreneurship, the future of, really will be about more couples being together in relationship together where they're on the same page. They're the ultimate team, and also in business doing incredible things, whether it's a same business or, kind of like where they're in partnership, like Xochitl does this incredible work with the holistic, and then I do the emotional and the mental stuff with the couples. So again, it creates this incredible team dynamic. So again,
do you know Evan Pagan and Annie Lala? You're familiar with them? Do you know Evan Pagan and Annie Lala?
No, never heard.
Well, they talk about how their vision is that one day elected representatives will be couples.
Perfect.
So that it isn't one person making these decisions, and that people are hearing different sides, and this is part of the evolutionary partnership. So I love that I'm starting to hear this more and more from more people, and the amazing magic that can come together when you truly embrace these realms of partnership.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, the balance of masculine, feminine that goes back and forth is just, it pushes our buttons, but it inspires us to grow and to become more and to integrate both masculine and feminine. That's what, this is all about, in my opinion, in our opinion. So
absolutely. And it's, the best of both worlds, right? It's just as when, your mind is a good thing and it can be a trap. It's whether you're using it or it's using you, as you were saying. And now it's also in this balance of the masculine and feminine. Are you being run by having to be in the feminine, or are you being run by the masculine, or do you have fluidity for integrating in what's happening at any given time? Well, if you would like to find out more information, we encourage you to check out powercouplesproject.com. And you had mentioned something about a meditation. If you have a link that you'd like us to share with our audience, we can put it both on the comments page and in the emails we send out to them. But if there's anything else that you have going on, feel free to let people know now. And you can also send it to me, and we can put it out in our reminders or put it into the comments on this page as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, so the meditation was the exercise that I actually just gave. And so if anyone has any questions on that, go on to my contact page. I'd be happy to answer questions about that, or they can reach out to you and, of course, relay it. And I definitely would share that, because to me that
is not in any video.
Yeah, it's in nothing. It's in strictly kind of word of mouth, and
yes,
it's not something I necessarily teach to everyone or share it with everyone. I mean, it really takes someone with the right mindset or openness to play and explore something like that, especially when it has to do with the energy within the body. It may not happen the first time, so totally be patient in the process.
So if you're ready to explore, if you're ready to say, bring it, I'm going to the next level, then you can reach out and we'll let you know some more about that. And if you're new to relationshipfunandgames.com, welcome and thanks for joining us today. You can find out more at relationshipfunandgames.com. And when you opt in, we have a free gift for you, the Relationship Reset Kit. It's the Quick Start Kit. And so we have a 4-part mini email course for you and a short version of our Fights Clean Sex Dirty guidebook, which has dozens of our tips organized in a really short, easy to access way based on all of those tips. And then we just wanted to mention that we do have our next online course is going to be starting on May 10th. And we've got some great webinars that will be coming up about the autopilot attitude. That's the #1 reason relationships fail, is just this absence of effort, the lack of intention, attention, and action. And so we just want to encourage couples to shift out of focusing on the problems. That's the default. We're doomed to the default. We get cranky, we get hungry. And then actually to have a relationship by design. So we're going to start, you'll have more information coming on that soon. May 4th, we'll start some of those webinars, and then we jump into the course on the 6 weeks on how to keep the fights clean and the sex dirty starting May 10th. So we'll have more coming on that soon. And just you can take a quick look here. This is what we will be covering in those 6 weeks. Admitting it and taking action, identifying the problem, getting clear on how you want it to be, understanding what are those traps, those defaults, we call them, those unsatisfactory solutions, which really aren't solutions at all. That's why they're in quotes here, And then we'll wrap up the final 2 weeks looking at solutions that really satisfy. Week 5 is my favorite week. And then setting yourself up for success. What are those structures, systems, and habits?
Yeah, you don't want to miss this webinar because you really get clear on all of the things you've inherited from your past, your parents, people that you've known in relationships, TV shows, whatever. And this is how you actually live your relationship with all those things that are unsatisfactory solutions. And we're going to give you a quick download on how to shift those to ones that actually work.
And tonight, as we mentioned, this is the last episode for the season, but we will be starting up again in June with the season of play. It's summertime is coming. It's a perfect time to kick up the play in your relationship. Raj and I will be going to Burning Man and visiting our family, going on a couple of trips. And whether you get to go on a vacation this summer or not, there's 1,001. There's 1,000,001 ways to bring more play to your relationship. So join us as we'll be diving in for that over our next 8 episodes for this season of play. Thanks to everyone for watching, whether it's the replay or joining in live tonight. And a special thanks to Alain and Xochitl for bringing your relationship, your wisdom. This is why we interview couples, mostly, not entirely exclusively, but mostly because there's what you have to say, but then there's the in-between of what we get to see between the two of you. You're a beautiful couple. I love your partnership and your wisdom. Thank you so much for being here and sharing it with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you both, and thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Really had a blast with you guys. Love talking dirty and kung pao chicken with you guys.
Yeah, right? Getting kinky with the kung pao. Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for watching. Please do reach out to us. Let us know how you're doing and what we can do to support you and blow wind in the sail of you having a playful, peaceful, passionate relationship. So as we say all the time, life it's pretty tough out there these days, right? It's too tough to do alone, but a crappy relationship is way worse than none at all. And a relationship, an awesome, amazing relationship, it does take something. It does not happen all by itself. But as we like to say, wonderful is worth it.
Yeah, and one thing that I'd love to leave the audience with is that a little intention, this is one of Gabby's favorite sayings, a little intention, attention, and action goes a long way. And we think that to get our relationship working, or the areas that aren't working again, it takes a lot of effort. It actually just takes a little bit of effort over time.
Yes, yes. You don't have to wait for the big problems and then it's a big drama to solve them. A little bit sprinkled here and there takes it out of relationship work and actually makes a relationship fun. So go have some fun. Let us know how it goes. Thanks again for a really fantastic season, and another final thank you to Alain and Xochitl of Power Couples Project and the huge, we called it a tsunami ripple effect that you're having out there.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Have a good
night,
night.
everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye.